Hey, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to demystify a really big idea in education: universal design for learning. So, whether you've heard of it or you're a total newbie, we're going to break down what it is, why it's such a game changer, and how it actually works. So, let's just start with this question right here. For what feels like forever, we've been designing classrooms for this imaginary average student. But here's the thing: science is telling us loud and clear that average student, they don't exist. Learner variability, the fact that we're all different, is the rule, not the exception. And that is the central problem, right? When you have a rigid, one-size-fits-all classroom, you're pretty much guaranteed to put up walls for some students. The curriculum, the lesson plan itself, that's what becomes the barrier. It's not the student's fault. It's the system that's getting in their way. Okay, so what do we do about it? Well, there's a solution, and it's called Universal Design for Learning, or UDL for short. The best way to think about it is like a blueprint, a plan to build learning spaces that are inclusive for everyone right from the very beginning. Yeah, and UDL isn't just some extra thing you tack on at the end. It's not a special accommodation for a few students. Nope. It's a whole framework backed by science that was put together by this organization called CAST. And its whole purpose is to design learning that's flexible from the get-go, because it expects and welcomes the fact that everyone is different. Okay, this is a really important point. You've probably heard of differentiated instruction, right? So how is UDL different? Well, think of it like this. UDL is proactive. It's about building all the choices and supports into the lesson for everybody before you even start. Differentiated instruction, on the other hand, is more reactive. A teacher sees a student struggling and then makes an adjustment. With UDL, the students themselves can often pick the tools and paths that work for them, so they're kind of differentiating for themselves. So this whole framework, it's all built on three main principles. And this isn't just some dusty old theory. Nope. This stuff is rooted in actual neuroscience, how our brains are wired to learn. At its core, UDL is organized around three key parts of the brain that handle learning. You've got the why, the what, and the how. Let's dive into what each of those really means. First, let's talk about engagement. This is the why of learning. It's all about lighting that fire in a student's brain. What gets them excited? What makes them want to stick with a problem? This is where you give them choices, make the material actually matter to their lives, and create a classroom where they feel like they belong. Next up, we have representation, or the what of learning. This is all about how we take in information. Look, not everyone learns best by reading a textbook, right? Some people need to see a video, hear a podcast, or get their hands on a model. So this principle is simple: present information in lots of different ways. And rounding out the trio is action and expression, the how. This is all about how students show you what they've learned. A 5-paragraph essay isn't the only way to prove you understand something. This principle says we should give kids options. Let them write, or give a presentation, or build something, or make a short film. It's all about flexible ways to express knowledge. Okay, so that's the theory. Sounds pretty good, right? But the big question is, what does this actually look like in a classroom day to day? How do you take these big ideas and make them real? Well, in a UDL classroom, options are the default setting. It's not a special treat, it's just how things are done. So instead of one way to do things, you'll see multiple tools, multiple methods, multiple ways to show what you know, and they're available to everybody. The whole idea is to bake flexibility and even self-reflection right into the DNA of the classroom. So putting this into practice could be something as simple as letting students change the font size on a digital document. Or it could be bigger, like letting them choose between writing a report or recording a podcast. It's about creating this flexible, creative space where the common thread through everything is choice. It's all about empowering the learner. All right, so we've talked about the principles, what it looks like in practice, but it's really important to know that all of this is leading somewhere. There's a big ultimate goal here, and it's not just about giving kids access to stuff. And that goal is something called learner agency. What does that mean? It means we're trying to help students become expert learners, people who know how to learn, who are motivated, who know where to find information, and who can set their own goals. It's about putting them in the driver's seat of their own education. And hey, don't just take my word for it. The people who created UDL, the team at CAST, they say it loud and clear in their guidelines. The goal of UDL is learner agency, full stop. Every part of it points right back to that.
And this idea didn't just appear out of nowhere, it's evolved. Back in the 80s, the focus was really on technology to help students with disabilities. But then came a huge shift. Instead of trying to fix the student, the focus became fixing the curriculum. And today, it's gone even further. Now it's all about building that learner agency we talked about and using these ideas to create more equitable systems for everyone.
So, if there's one thing to take away from all this, it's this. UDL isn't just a checklist of things to do. It's a completely different way of thinking. It's a mindset shift that's all about designing learning so that every single student gets a real chance to become an expert learner. And that leaves us with a final thought, a challenge for you. It doesn't matter if you're a teacher, a parent, or just someone who loves to learn. Think about your world, your environment. What's one tiny barrier to learning that you could get rid of? Maybe even tomorrow.